Hey everybody, Model Man here, and this is a slight revision to the Starship lighting kit for the glow-in-the-dark Tholian web version of the Enterprise. So what I'm going to do right now is build up this entire kit using the regular double density ultraviolet LED tape, and we'll go from there. While I was building this the first time for the demonstration model with the smooth UV LED tape, afterwards I realized there were a few things I could have done a little different, and we're going to try a few different experiments now with how we build this. And of course, this is simply not even a guide. This is simply how I'm building the model. You may see entirely different and better ways to do it, or you may find that some of my ideas are pretty good, but you can make them even better. So let's get into it. What I've done already is to do all the cleaning on all the pieces. Everything's off the sprue, everything's ready to go. And one thing I'll mention about the sprue is that you should keep it around because it can be useful, especially on this particular kit. For example, these three pieces have a terrible time being put together simply because the keys are so bad that they're nearly non-existent. And when you go to put any pressure on them, it starts flying apart. However, if you take some of those sprue and you glue them just along the side so they're just above the rim, that essentially acts as a new key, and you can actually apply some pressure while you're trying to put this together, and it will hold. So I've already done that on both sides of the lower hull. I've put the hanger deck in because that doesn't matter whether it's there or not yet. Actually, it's better to have it before you start lighting. I've also gone and drilled open the ends of the pylons, the ends of the neck, and the saucer itself. All I did for that was to take my Dremel on a really slow speed. Well, that's 20,000 right there, but you could probably go with like 15 or so, maybe even 10, and simply drill the hole, carving this out, and then I used a razor blade to finish off the process and get things nice and square. They can be rough if you want them to. The wires are rubber coated, so there's really no way it's going to be damaged or anything, and once everything's glued in place, you're never going to be taking it apart, hopefully. However, having those nice edges is just a little aesthetic thing for me. First thing we're going to do is light up the saucer. So included in the lighting kit is 5 feet of double density UV LED tape. What we're going to have to do is measure out a 2-foot cut first. So actually, when you go to make the cut on this, 23.5 inches is where the little copper mark is going to be for where you can safely cut the product. Or you can go to the one after it and make it 24 and probably 3/4. So what we'll actually do here is measure this out. So indeed, you can go for the 23.5 inch mark. So let's turn the power off to that. Let's make a cut with a normal household scissors. And now here's the really tricky thing, what you could even say is the very dangerous thing to do. As is, this is too tall to fit inside the saucer. LED tape is about 8 millimeters wide. The saucer itself is closer to 7, if not 6. So what we're going to have to do is trim this down lengthwise. Doing this with the smooth LED tape was really tough because that had the clear gel coating. Regular, it's going to be a lot easier. And let me pull the camera down here so you can see exactly where I'm going to be cutting, because you don't want to cut any tighter. So this right here should give you a pretty good idea. You can cut right down to the copper contacts, cut right down to the solder points on the LEDs and the resistor, and that will give you this really nice, tight, flush cut here. So the most important thing about this is to go very slow, keep a careful eye, and watch what you're doing every inch of the way. If you cut in too close, you could damage the entire circuit. And when I say the entire circuit, I do of course mean the entire strip of LED tape, not the rest of the model itself. Do not take your eye off what you're doing for even a moment. If you do, stop cutting. There's one side. Let's see how well this fits. I'm pretty sure I have to do both. Yeah. So at this point, the LED tape is just barely above the top. So we're going to have to cut the other side. And this is a little more difficult because all of a sudden, previous to this, you had very little room to hold on to the LED tape. Now you've got next to none. If you cut really deep and fine on one side, you probably don't have to cut as deep on the next side. However, it should still be cut as tightly as you can do it. And this side is not easier. The scissors keeps wanting to jump off the rail, as it were. If you have arthritis, this can be really tough on it. I'll warn you right now. But with just a minute or two, you will be done. And this is probably the most difficult part of it, the entire build process overall. It's definitely the most nerve-wracking. Cutting this up, you figure it can't possibly work afterwards, but it does. As long as you don't cut wrong, you'll be all set. Ah, come on. There we go. Almost there. Oh, sorry, wrong series. Couple more cuts. Ah. Whew. Man. So give me a second to recover here. I'll solder this up and we'll take a look.